Karibuni kwenye Malezi Bora, guys. I'm your host Chep.
And I'm your host Juliet.
And today kwenye show tunaongelea about nosebleeding. In layman's language, Charity, my producer, alikuwa na sijui alisema nini, but in layman's language, from my biology, nosebleeding ina happen mama time, capillaries imeburst. That hiyo ndio nosebleeding inafanyika.
Mimi najua nosebleeding ni wakati wenye damu inatoka through mapua, but sijuangi nini inakuanga imehappen.
Oh, uko ndani. Nadhani ningekuwa daktari. Anyway guys, karibuni kwenye show. We have a great show lined up for you. Tuko Gertrude's Hospital, Muthaiga. It's their main branch. And we will have Dr. Imran, one of the pediatricians from Gertrude's Hospital. You've seen him before kwenye show. Ni daktari wetu, ni kama resident doctor wa Malezi Bora. Atakuwa anatuambia what to do in case baby akinosebleed uko home as a parent. So guys, karibuni kwenye show and let's get it started.
Karibuni. Hey good people, it's good to see you all, and this is Malezi Bora, and today I'm joined by Chep and also Dr. Imran from Gertrude's Hospital, and he will be taking us through nosebleeding. We will know what nosebleeding is, what causes it, and what you're supposed to do in case a baby is nosebleeding. So karibuni sana guys. Chep, how are you?
I'm good mama, uko fiti?
Niko poa kabisa.
Kwanza, before we even continue, juzi I went like weekend nilienda kwa, I was going to buy fries local tu hapo home. Then I went to, there's some lady there akaniambia, by the way Chef, unakuanga Malezi Bora? Nikamuuliza BTV Malezi Bora, nikamwambia wewe unaonaje? Akaniambia siko sure lakini niambie tu unakuanga na Juliet. Nikasema nimeanza mwaka in a good way. At least people in my local know kuna Malezi Bora. Say a big up to, aki nimesahau majina zenu, but it's Benito hapo South B, Balozi. Asanteni kwa kuwatch show yetu, and I hope bado mtaendelea kuwatch.
Yeah, true.
Yes, mama.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you.
Yeah,
and I'm excited, and
yes.
It's always good to, we love the way you give us, you inform us, because we are moms and mara mob hatujui venye tunafanya, so it's always good to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure to give you all the education you need.
Yeah, so
yes,
tell us who you are, what you do.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you everyone, thank you viewers for tuning in. My name is Dr. Imran. I am a pediatrician in Gertrude's Children's Hospital. I work in the Muthaiga, which is the main branch. So today we're going to be discussing on some of the practical things we can do when some of our children undergo some of these some problems and sorts. Yeah.
Okay. And we wanted to discuss about nosebleeding. I know most of us, we know what it is, and tunajua tu ni damu inatoka kwa mapua. Yeah, but maybe you can tell us what it really is, what happens to a point that a child or someone has blood coming out of their nose.
Right. So that's a very good question. I mean, nosebleeding is very common. That's one thing that we do know, but usually not very common below 1 year. Okay. So it's usually now when children are now walking and interacting, more so in the toddlers, those 2, 3 years old.
Okay.
Those very common again. Some of the causes we usually look at, 80% of these causes is usually just trauma to the nose. Okay, so trauma could be nose digging, and that is one of the most common causes, because children do it unintentionally. They put their fingers in their nose, especially when they have colds, you see? Yeah, so
it's like picking the nose.
Picking the nose, that thing, yeah. So it's good to pick up that behavior and tell them to stop doing that, okay, so that they don't injure some of these fragile blood vessels which are near the skin of the nose, inside the nose. Okay, so that's the most common cause of that. Of course, other causes could be just trauma, like hitting the nose. Those are very rare. Okay, but so 80% is just hand picking itself. Okay, very other rare causes are, like, for example, constipation. Okay,
Really?
constipation. Yes. So straining, using so much effort sometimes can actually cause a bit of those nose to rupture. But otherwise, it's a very rare, very rare. So 80%, like I said, is just picking up the nose. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, so when a baby nosebleeds, it shouldn't be something to worry about as a parent.
Yeah, because you're not going to be losing so much blood that will cause you to have anemia or something. Yeah. So it's something that you just need to not worry about, and maybe just reassure the child and never panic when it comes to nose bleeding. That's the most common thing parents do, is they panic and they run around. So even the child gets quite scared because they're seeing a lot of blood, and it can be quite a scary situation. So you just need to be very calm, be reassuring the child that everything is okay. So we can maybe get to an example. Okay, so let's say this.
Before you get to the example,
okay.
maybe you can. There's a scenario. Maybe I can try.
Sure,
explain.
bring it up. Yeah.
I realized, for example, if it's sunny,
Yes.
and then you take a warm shower, you tend to nosebleed.
That's true.
Or if it's cold,
Yes.
and then you take, I don't know how those are related. Whereby you find that if you take a warm shower, you tend to nosebleed. If you take a cold shower, you tend to nosebleed.
Right.
Maybe is there anything you can say about that? Is there any relation with maybe?
That's a very good question, because usually we advise parents not to take hot showers even after nosebleed. Okay. For example, let's talk about cold. In cold, let's say like a cold weather, or even at night you see a baby's woken up and there's blood on the bed sheet. So look at the environment around. If you're having cold air, dry air, it's going to irritate the nose a lot. And a lot of children start rubbing their nose violently because it's so irritating, breathing in that dry air. So then they tend to nosebleed. So then I would advise them to use a humidifier. Okay,
A what?
A humidifier.
Okay.
So keeping a humidifier in the room keeps the air nice and warm and moist, so it doesn't irritate the nose. Therefore, you prevent the nose bleeding. Okay. Same thing with heat. Heat is going to cause those blood vessels to be very easy to break as well. Okay. So we advise not to. That's why we put a cold towel on the head, just to make those vessels not to be very easy to break. Yeah.
And for example, doc, when a baby nosebleeds and there is like blood clots coming, is that incident where blood clots come from the nose?
That's right, yeah. So sometimes you could have, let's say, you spit out blood which is fresh red, then you know it's coming from around here. If it's clots, it may have been there for a while, okay? But then you have to find out where it's come from. Could it be from the nose? Could it be from the stomach? You have to figure that one out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe we can brainstorm of some of the methods that we know from way back when we were young.
Sure.
I remember, I do nosebleed, even today, nowadays.
Right.
So I remember my mom could either unaekelewa kitambaa hapa baridi, and then unaambiwa ukae hivi, or unaambiwa ushike mapua, then like this, or ushike mapua down like this. So all those are those methods that I've seen people do to try, you see,
to
like stop nose bleeding.
Yes,
but at least leo tutalearn how
The
to
proper
do it,
way,
especially for
proper way
kids.
to do
Because
it, yes.
by then I was shocked
Yes.
to notice that kids nosebleed.
Absolutely.
I
yes.
was shocked because for me, I thought it was for
Why? But a baby is a
adults.
human being.
I thought it was
And I
for
think,
adults.
and things are changing. There's lots of dust, more pollution, more irritants in the air, So we need to consider that there is a difference in how it used to be when we were young. There's more trees, more fresh air. Nowadays it's a bit of a difference in our environment as well. Yeah. So of course we're going to see how we practically do it. Then you'll see the right technique. Yeah, because I get a lot of patients who come with these symptoms in the clinic, and then when we ask them, we do the lying on the back and everything, but it also has its own dangers by doing that. Yeah.
And from my biology, I remember I think, if I'm not wrong, we were told, you see, you're a Mzungu, and there's a way, the shape of your nose, we were told, okay, the way you guys are made is different from us, in that when you breathe in, before the air gets into the body, it inawomiwa before you
Absolutely,
inhale.
yes.
Unlike us, what's the difference?
I don't know.
Is it because of the hair?
We're both human beings.
No, wait.
but yeah.
We are, but what makes that okay? Now that you're talking about nose bleeding.
Okay, if you look at people from different environments, like climates and things like that, definitely those who are in temperate climates or cold environments will have, because they're breathing in a lot of cold, dry air, their noses may be adapted to have more hair. than us who are in a warmer environment. But ideally, the nose has its same basic function. It has to warm the air, humidify and purify the air that we breathe,
inhale.
that we inhale. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So, Doc, now let's show us.
All right. So let's say we have a 2-year-old who has sudden nose bleeding. Okay. So remember, the first step was what? We don't panic. That's right. Very good. So we don't panic. Okay. So we need to assure this baby. Let's say he's 3 years old and you're able to communicate with him. So you need to put him on your arms and you're resting on your body like this. Okay. And you inform them that they can breathe from their mouth. Okay,
From
so
the
they can,
mouth?
yeah, because you see, you're going to be blocking their nose, so you might cause them a bit of fear, like what's happening. So you just tell them, look, you are nose bleeding, but we're going to breathe from our mouth for about 10 minutes. Okay, it has to be about 10 minutes because you need to take time to make sure that that blood clots completely. Okay, and you're going to put pressure on the area which is going to where the bleeding is coming from. Okay, so you assure them that there's a little bit of blood coming out, not to worry. You can, because you're doing 10 minutes, you can distract them with a storybook or something on the TV or something. So we advise then you lean forward, the two of you. You lean forward and then you press on the nose bridge. So I want you all to hold your nose bridge, okay? So that's not the down part, it's not the very high part, it's just in between. And I want you to put pressure on that, okay? So you put pressure on that and you lean them forward, okay? And tell them, breathe from your mouth, but all is well. And you can even tell them a story of Winnie the Pooh or something that they really enjoy, some of their favorite characters, just to distract them so that they don't feel that scariness. So once you do that, then you can advise someone to bring some cold water and pat. Cold water and with a cloth, and just pat the head and the back, okay, on the neck and the hair. And then, and it has to be 10 minutes, and you give good pressure for about 10 minutes, okay, and as they breathe from their mouth. The risk of lying down this way is that they can swallow the blood or the blood clots, and that can cause them to choke or even feel uncomfortable that way, okay? So just about that for 10 minutes, and that is good enough.
And the part of rubbing the head with a cold, cold cloth.
Yes.
What about siku hizi watoto wanashukwa wanashukwa nywele wakiwa wadogo.
Okay.
Can you do the forehead?
That's okay. That's fine as well. So all over the head, anywhere.
Because I'm trying to imagine if the baby has some, braids,
Yes.
Really
so you can just tap cold water. Yeah,
Okay.
there's no serious rule about it. I mean, you can do whatever you can, but remember not to keep opening and closing. Don't keep doing that. So just hold and look at the clock and time yourself for about 10 minutes moving forward as you distract them. So don't do like 2 minutes and then open and close. That can cause the clots to break again and nosebleed now.
And what if the baby panics and they're not able to like breathe with their mouth, ama umemwambia breathe na mdomo amechanganyikiwa hajui ni nini unamwambia like you know breathing with the mouth, it's just to keep your mouth open. I'm imagining the nose is not, you're not able to breathe with your nose. What would you do in such a case?
So eventually, as long as even if they cry, if you cry, your airway is clear. That's what it means. If it's gurgling, there may be some obstruction. Okay. So as long as they're shouting, crying, and you can hear that, you know that the airway is clear. So one way or the other, they will have to breathe. Okay. So you just keep reassuring them and even showing them a demonstration like, look, this is what daddy is doing or mommy is doing. I'm breathing like that with my mouth. Okay. Yeah. Now it's worse, of course, for those who cannot understand that, but you just sort of keep their nose closed and move forward, and they will eventually breathe from their mouth. Yeah, they'll have to breathe. And remember, you're not pressing the nose from here. So they will even sometimes breathe from there, which is still okay, as long as you're putting pressure on the nose bridge, okay? Yes.
And the other thing would be, is it okay for a baby, for example, mtoto ako na homa, their nose blocked, okay, there are those who you'd see them really struggling to breathe in via the nose,
right,
as opposed to the mouth.
Yes.
But there are some who just automatically, I think does it come automatic, or you have to train a baby how to breathe via the...
Yeah, it sometimes comes automatically because before 1 year, baby does not know how to alternate. Yeah, but after 1 year, they can do that. When the nose is blocked, they automatically be able to breathe from the mouth. Now, remember, tell them not to blow very fast. Sometimes, violent blowing can sometimes cause that rupture as well. Now also rubbing the nose, sometimes you may have like a pimple or something like that because of continuous rubbing like that. So when you seeing your baby is constant and it's irritated, that area is irritated or dry, apply a little bit of Vaseline, okay, or any lubricant, just to make sure that it's not getting too dry or too irritated, which can cause a bit of that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe as a parent, maybe you've managed to do the first aid na kila kitu iko sawa na nose bleeding imeacha. Is there something else that you are supposed to do?
Ideally not. I mean, as long as you have treated the nosebleed at that point, okay, there's a risk that it may occur again, so just watch out. So sometimes, let's say you're putting them to bed, you may want to maybe put them on the side rather than on the back, so that they don't have a nosebleed and then it can choke them. So just putting them on the side, and then just keep a watch on them as well. Cold symptoms clear on their own, so you don't need to put anything else in the nose, any steroid spray or any other sprays or nose drops. They usually clear on their own. Yeah. Now if the bleeding is too severe and you've tried the 10 minutes and there's still no improvement, you may want to go to the hospital or to the ENT, so that doctor is able to visualize where the bleeding can be coming from. And then they use different modalities. They can either pack it with some paraffin oil, okay, or they cauterize, means they burn that artery so that it stops bleeding. Yeah, so those are for those that really don't stop bleeding after 10 minutes.
And at that point, when you're rushing to the hospital, it's advisable to just keep the baby in the
pressure.
same position.
Yeah, continue that with the same pressure as you get to the health facility.
Okay, as a parent, how do you tell that nose bleeding has become severe?
Yeah, so let's say the 10 minutes, that's your 10-minute rule, okay? So after your 10 minutes and they're still bleeding continuously, then you can try another 10 minutes. You could go for another 10 minutes, and if there's still no improvement, that's a 20-minute gap. If there's no improvement after that, then whatever intervention that you will do is not going to work. It needs now more invasive intervention, by either packing with the paraffin oil or cauterization, meaning burning some of the vessels. Yeah?
The vessels.
Yeah.
And Daktari, I've also had cases whereby mtu ali nosebleed na akakufa. Like, I don't know how does it get to that point whereby mtu ame nosebleed na amekufa. Do we have other underlying issues which can lead to that?
So you need to tell me then a bit more about that story. I mean, was it an adult? Was it a child? If it was an adult, then of course there could be many other reasons as well. Children, so it's usually something that usually should stop. But if you have a bleeding tendency or a bleeding disorder, that means your blood is not able to clot very well, then those are the underlying. But those are very rare, and that may be one or two. But then you need to investigate further. Is this child having a clotting problem or a bleeding disorder? They're lacking some of those ingredients in the clotting pool to allow that clot to form. The important thing is that clot forms and the bleeding stops. So if it's persistent to a point where you're losing so much blood, there must be an underlying, you're right, there might be an underlying factor, but that needs to be investigated early than when it's too late.
Just for the last time, you can show us maybe kuna mtu ametune in sahi, hajaona the first part of it. You can demonstrate to us again what to do when a baby nosebleeds.
Okay, so like we said, we don't panic. Okay, if he's a child you're able to communicate to, you can tell them to relax. It's just not a big problem. You hold them leaning forward. Okay, you make sure that you make the child lean forward as well. You can support the mouth that way. Put some pressure on the little's area, which you call the nose bridge. Yeah? So you're putting pressure there, so not down here, not up here, in the middle somewhere. And you put pressure there and you tell them to breathe from their mouth. Okay, once they're breathing from their mouth, you wait for 10 minutes. Okay, and look at your clock, and at the same time distract them so that they're not feeling that there's something going wrong. Okay, after the 10 minutes you observe, and then you see if the bleeding has stopped. In between, you can always put some cold cloth, okay, to see if that can also stop that bleeding as well. After 10 minutes, if there's still no improvement, you can continue pressing for another 10 minutes, after which if there's still bleeding, you may need to see an ENT or go to the emergency room, okay, so that you can stop the bleeding by other ways. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doc.
You're most welcome.
I have learned, personally, I have learned one or two one or two things. And guys, thank you for tuning in. This has been Practical Mom Lessons. Tumewambia this year hakuna kutakuwa na topic of discussion, but most importantly, we show you moms how to do it practically in case it happens to you as a mom. What are you supposed to do? Na umesikia doc amesema first things first, don't panic. I think that's where we go wrong kama parents. Kitu ikihapenia mtoi, kitu ya kwanza una panic, unachanganyikiwa, and you end up not even helping this baby mwenye ana need help. So thank you. Mom story inakuja up next. Don't go anywhere.